All right, so today we're going to get into Roger Federer.
Sounds good.
You sent over this excerpt from a Spanish language biography,
Mhm.
and I'm really curious. He's one of the tennis greats, but is it just about the wins, or is there something more there?
I think that's the big question.
Right.
We could just list off tournament victories.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to get to today is,
Yeah.
like, what makes Federer, what makes him so interesting, so captivating to fans.
Totally. I mean, the bio mentions he was a national champion in Switzerland at 14. That's got to be some sort of sign, right?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because early talent doesn't always mean success at the pro level.
Mhm.
But in Federer's case, it really was a strong indicator. I mean, the fact that he was at that level of competition at 14 really says a lot about his ability and his work ethic.
And then there's that 1998 Wimbledon junior title.
Oh, yeah.
And he ends up dominating Wimbledon later in his career.
Yeah.
It can't just be a coincidence, can it?
Definitely not. The Wimbledon Junior Tournament is a proving ground. You're talking about some of the top young tennis players in the entire world, competing for that title. And it takes more than just skill to win. You got to have a certain mental toughness, a real taste for those big moments. So in a way, it was kind of a prophecy for what Federer would become.
Okay, but this is what really got me. 2001, Wimbledon Federer plays Pete Sampras, who was the king of Wimbledon at the time. This was more than just a match. It felt like a moment.
It really did. A lot of people consider that match a real turning point in tennis.
Yeah.
Sampras was known for his serve and volley game. He was the established power. And then you have Federer, relatively unknown at the time. He brought a completely different style, much more fluid, more of an all-court player. What do you think it was about Federer's play that day that sort of signaled a shift in the sport?
I'm seeing here 20 Grand Slams, 8 Wimbledons, 6 Australian Opens, 5 U.S. Opens, and a French Open. That's just insane.
It's incredible. But I think beyond just the number of titles, you got to consider the significance of the career Grand Slam, winning all 4 major tournaments. Very few players in history have managed to do that, to conquer all 4 surfaces, grass, clay, hard court.
Wimbledon seems like it's almost like synonymous with Federer. 8 titles, that's got to be some sort of record, right?
It is. He holds the record for most Wimbledon gentlemen's singles titles. And, Wimbledon is not just any tournament. It's considered by many to be the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world. I mean, the history, the tradition, the all-white dress code, the royal patronage, it's all there. And Federer's dominance on that grass court, it elevates him to legendary status.
Well, I'm seeing something here about his first Wimbledon win back in 2003. It describes this really emotional moment. He wins and drops to his knees, overcome with emotion. It sounds like something out of a movie.
And that's what makes Federer so special, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the win. It was about all those years of hard work and dedication and belief in himself, all culminating in that one victory.
Yeah.
It's just pure emotion.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of moment that connects with people. It's not just about the trophy. It's about the human story behind it. And that's what gets people right. It's not about the trophy. It's that human story.
Yeah. Let's talk about his style. This bio keeps using the phrase poetry in motion, and I kind of get it.
It's true. Federer's style is really something special. It's this amazing combination of power and precision, but also this almost like balletic grace on the court. Technically, he's known for that one-handed backhand, which you don't see a lot in modern tennis.
Right.
Most players use a two-handed backhand for more power and stability, but the one-hander, when it's done well, allows for these unbelievable angles and touch, and Federer just makes it look effortless.
So is it just raw talent, or is there something else going on?
Natural talent obviously plays a part, but I think what really makes Federer stand out is his dedication to the sport, his commitment to getting better every day. This bio actually talks a lot about his work ethic, his constant push for improvement. And it's that combination of ability and hard work that makes him so unique.
They also mention his serve and his court awareness as key parts of his game. Can you break those down for me?
Sure. His serve is truly a weapon. It's not just power. It's about placement and variation. The ability to really disguise what he's going to do. He can hit flat serves, slice serves, kick serves, and he places them all with incredible accuracy. And his court awareness is something else. It's like he can anticipate his opponent's moves before they even make them. It's almost like a sixth sense. And that's what allows him to really control the pace and flow of the match.
It's interesting because you mentioned that one-handed backhand. It's kind of an old school move. But he was so dominant in the modern era. Did he have to adapt his style at all to keep winning?
Oh, absolutely. Tennis has changed a lot. Players are hitting the ball harder. They're more aggressive overall. And Federer had to evolve to stay on top.
Right.
He incorporated more power into his game and sometimes played more aggressively. but he never lost that elegance and fluidity. That really defines his style.
We can't talk about Federer without mentioning Nadal. That rivalry is legendary.
It's one for the history books.
Yeah.
Federer and Nadal, they have these contrasting styles. You have Federer, the artist, relying on precision and touch. And then you have Nadal, the warrior. Just intense and relentless with those powerful shots. It's a clash of titans, and their matches are always so unpredictable and exciting.
But there wasn't like any bad blood between them, right? The bio talks about how they respected each other.
Yeah, exactly. Despite how competitive they were on the court, there was always a deep level of respect between them. They pushed each other to be better. I think Nadal even said once that Federer was the opponent who made him a better player. And Federer's also talked about how Nadal forced him to constantly adapt and improve. It really shows their sportsmanship and love for the game.
Okay, let's change gears a bit. The bio spends some time on Federer's impact off the court. It's got to be more than just endorsements, right?
Oh yeah, much more. He's a global ambassador for tennis. He's known for his professionalism, his humility, his charity work. He founded the Roger Federer Foundation, which focuses on helping kids through education. They've done some incredible work in Africa and Switzerland, building schools, providing access to clean water, supporting early childhood development programs.
Wow, that's amazing. It's one thing to be a champ on the court, but it's something else to use your platform to do good in the world.
Exactly. It really shows his character. He knows the impact he can have and uses it in a positive way.
Sadly, he's not playing anymore, retired in 2022. It really feels like the end of an era. But I imagine his legacy lives on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's part of what people now call the big three in tennis,
Yeah.
along with Nadal and Djokovic. That generation of players, they pushed each other, and they redefined what was possible in the sport.
They definitely set a high bar. I mean, what stood out to you most about his impact on the sport?
His longevity is incredible. To compete at that level for so long, it's almost unheard of. And he did it with grace and style, on and off the court.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And I think that's why his legacy is so powerful. He wasn't just winning, he was winning beautifully. He brought new fans to the sport. He inspired a whole generation of players.
This bio talks about how his style influenced so many young players.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever see another Federer?
It's tough to say. He was such a unique talent. But there's no doubt he left his mark. You can see elements of his game in a lot of the top players today. The way they emphasize all-court play, the variety in their shots, that aggressive forehand. He really changed what people thought was possible on a tennis court.
It makes you think about what's next for tennis. Now that the Big Three era is winding down, what will the future of the sport look like?
It's a really interesting time. We have all these young players coming up with their own styles and strengths. The game is always evolving, and it'll be fun to watch these new players shape the future. I know you're not a fortune teller or anything, but any predictions?
Well, I think we'll probably see even more power and athleticism in the game.
Yeah.
But I also think Federer's legacy will live on. Players will still be inspired by his all-around game, his creativity, his finesse. I don't know if we'll see another Federer exactly, but his impact will be felt for a long time.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. I knew Federer was a big deal coming into this, but I don't think I fully understood how much of an impact he's had. He's more than just a tennis player, isn't he?
He's a true icon.
Yeah.
He goes beyond the sport. He represents excellence, sportsmanship, and grace under pressure. And with all his charity work, he shows that he's using his success to make a real difference in the world.
So for anyone listening who might be inspired to pick up a racket after this deep dive,
Wow.
what's the one piece of advice you'd give them if they want to channel their inner Federer?
I'd say focus on becoming a well-rounded player. Don't just rely on hitting the ball hard. Work on your touch, your finesse, your footwork. And most importantly, have fun. Tennis is a beautiful sport, and it should be enjoyed.
Great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of Roger Federer. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.